We'll stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So made.
Second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Are there any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Approval of the minutes of July 22nd, our special and regular meeting.
Move we accept the minutes.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes of our last meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We have no presentations tonight, and we'll open the meeting to public remarks. If you state your name and address, if you have. Yes, ma'am.
Anna Brockman, 5 North Main Street. I just have a question. I would like to know what your policy is on receiving letters and how you correspond to them, and when they are mentioned at the meeting and when they're not. And do we get a written answer from the letter when we communicate? I would like to know what your policy is on that.
Okay. Is there any other public remarks? Yes, Mr.
Ted
Barber.
Barber, 50 Mile Hill Road. The stand we took out of Sears Park, that was the volleyball court, what did we do with it? Threw it away,
I-
instead of saving it to put in another volleyball court? How about the poles that we took out of the lake? Did we save them to use on the road somewhere, or did we throw them away?
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to know.
Is there any other public remarks? Yes, sir?
My name is Richie Karen from Brookhaven Park, and I wanted to know why there's two roads in our association that are not gonna be intersected. Cole and Byron. That you legally have a right of way through these roads. Aren't you supposed to maintain your right of ways? For sanitary sewers? Protect them?
Okay, thank you. We will be talking about roads in our agenda. Yes, sir?
I'll talk about roads later if you.
No, you have, if you have a
Okay,
question, you have to do
That's
that
John
now.
Roach, 10 Raymond Road.
What's your name, I'm sorry?
John Roach, ROCHE.
Okay.
This again was about the paving of the roads. I did submit a letter to the town manager's office. And like I said, I don't know if this is gonna come up later in the continued business. But they're doing Lake Street for the second time since I've been there 11 years. And they're coming up Candlewood, and Raymond Road is part of the horseshoe. They're stopping at both ends of Raymond Road. The issue is I think it's a real safety hazard right now at Lake and Raymond, because the erosion is not sand and dirt that washes down. It's, the road is washing down. The town comes out all the time when we complain and they patch. It's gonna be a continuous thing of patching. I think it's gonna be more of a hazard when Lake Drive is paved. Because now when that stone is washed onto that nice pavement, it's gonna create a hazard. A lot of motorcycles go up that street, kids play in, I mean, we're slipping now. I think it's gonna be a lot worse. And I was just asking for the town to consider adding Raymond. I know it wasn't in the budget, and it costs more money, but I've been paying taxes 10 years, taxes keep going up. I just think if it's something that can't, and I know they're gonna be paving within a couple of days. If it's something that can't be done, and it's paving, I'd like to see at least some kind of a caution hazardous sign put on that intersection to warn people.
Thank you. Are there any other public remarks? Yes, Jerry?
This is pertaining to Brookhaven again. This is a picture of the manhole on one of the roads.
Just wanna show that that's one of the roads that is not getting paved.
Which road is that now? Brian?
That's on Poe Road.
Byron, Poe Road.
Pass that. Oh, you're going the other way, that's fine.
There are other public remarks? Okay, thank you. Under bids and contracts, Maniscalco.
Thank you. First, under bids and contracts, we have a Ford Utility Interceptor. This is a vehicle that the police chief has recommended that we purchase in order to begin to replace some of the older Crown Victorias in the fleet. He's looking to purchase this vehicle off a state contract out of MHQ of Newfield in Middletown, Connecticut. Total cost is $29,463.35.
Okay, is there a motion to approve that purchase is in our budget, so,
Yes, I'm sorry, it's part of capital this
Yes.
last year.
Yep.
So moved.
is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion is made and seconded to approve the purchase of the new vehicle for $29,463.35. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I'm just curious, this is all part of the budget?
Yes, it is. Yes.
My understanding was that in capital, there was a $70,000 line item for cruisers and conversion equipment. My question has to do with, actually each one of them. My question is, what additional, equipment needs to be put into this vehicle? And is the remaining roughly $10,000 after both of these, is that enough to satisfy that, any additional equipment? I mean,
I would throw that to the chief since he's here. I would let him answer that for you. I don't know if you.
Traditionally, when they were making the Crown Victoria, which they no longer make, we were able to have a cost-saving measure simply by transferring equipment from one vehicle to another.
right.
That's not happening anymore. The second vehicle, which is an Expedition, we can do that because we already have Expeditions currently in our. So the vehicle that we would be getting from MHQ already has the black and white paint package and included the, I believe, the push bar and I believe the cage system for prisoners. So other than that, we would just be installing new lights, the radio and so forth. So I think we should be good on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. And the second vehicle?
Yes, the fleet for the police department actually has two SUVs. The Ford Expedition, as the chief said, we're looking to purchase a new one to replace one of those. We'd be purchasing that off a state bid, which is $30,758.50. That would be coming from Ford Truck Sales Incorporated branch of Hartford, Connecticut.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second?
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded to approve the second vehicle, $30,758.58. 50 cents, sorry about that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, motion carries. At this time, we have something very nice to do, and we ask that Officer Brown and the chief come in, or come up here. And I'll read the proclamation, and then I'll ask the chief to, whereas Officer Michael Brown, as a police officer with the Madison, Connecticut Police Department, and whereas Officer Michael Brown was off duty on July 1st, 2014, when he came upon an automobile accident on Route 66 in East Hampton. And whereas Officer Michael Brown attended to one of the injured operators and helped to keep her calm while waiting for the EMTs to arrive. Now therefore, we, the East Hampton Town Council, on behalf of the citizens of East Hampton, do hereby extend our thanks to Officer Michael Brown for his compassion, caring, and dedication to service as a police officer. much, Mike, that was.
Very good, very good.
We have a second proclamation for McDonald's. Probably, I couldn't believe it's been here for 30 years. That's amazing, really, and I'll ask Mr. Reich to read that. We will be presenting the proclamation actually at a ceremony on August 22nd, so a week from Friday. And if you would read that?
Okay. Whereas the East Hampton, Connecticut McDonald's restaurant at 15 East High Street is celebrating its 30th anniversary, serving the community of East Hampton in August 2014. And whereas Nicholas Haskos, the owner of East Hampton McDonald's restaurant since 2006, along with his son John Haskos, the operations manager, and Doug King, the store manager, have year after year supported the community of East Hampton by sponsoring such programs as Old Home Day, East Hampton Project Graduation, the Park and Recreation Department, the East Hampton Public Library Summer Reading Program, the East Hampton Little League, and the Fire Department. And whereas the East Hampton McDonald's was instrumental in the East Hampton High School receiving a $1,000 grant from Ronald McDonald House Charities this past year in honor of a social studies teacher, Joan Maschermonaco, who was the recipient of a local hero award for her hard work, dedication, and commitment to the East Hampton students. And whereas the East Hampton McDonald's continues to innovate in offering new and healthy foods for children and adults, as well as continuing to serve their famous French fries, Big Mac, and other standards that have survived the test of time and delighted the palates of East Hampton residents since it was established in 1984 by John Kay. Now, therefore, we, the East Hampton Town Council, on behalf of the citizens of East Hampton, recognize John Haskos and the staff of the East Hampton McDonald's restaurant for their contribution to the community of East Hampton and wish them continued success in the future on their 30th anniversary. And it's signed by the members of the East Hampton Town Council, and it's dated the 12th day of August, 2014.
Thank you. Kathy, you're going to set up a time with them? I wanted to know, it seems as if the time is open to, I would like as many of us to go, and so it's a Friday, so I'm looking at you. Would they want to do it in the evening or no?
Probably
No.
not. I think more during the day.
Okay.
Ronald McDonald goes to bed early.
I can certainly make arrangements to leave at noon.
Oh,
I could do,
okay.
you know, I could leave work at noon,
Okay.
which means I could be in town by 1.
Is that good for everybody else? To try to do it early afternoon, Mark? You'll have to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be determined.
How your day goes. Yeah.
Depends on the phone calls, right?
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll try for that. That
Okay.
that would be great. That'd be lunchtime. That's probably a good idea. huh?
Free happy meal.
Yeah, free happy.
Go on to continued, no, resolution for multi-jurisdiction natural hazard mitigation plan, which we did have a presentation at our last meeting. So at this time, we would be asking our town manager to approve, we would ask you to approve it so that they could have the, let's see, I'm reading
We need you to
wrong one.
pass the resolution.
The resolution.
That's in your packet.
Right, this.
Basically, what has occurred is the Council of Governments has been asked, that we belong to, has been asked to develop this natural hazard mitigation plan for the region. And in an effort to pass that and provide, which will then open up avenues for federal funding in the instance of a disaster or even prior to a disaster, they need each of the municipalities to pass this resolution to basically certify the actual plan. The plan was fairly sizable, so we, in an effort to save a tree, we emailed it out to everybody, and didn't hear any comments back, so.
Well, we did have the presentation at our last meeting, so we would need a motion to approve the resolution.
Make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this resolution. All those in favor?
Aye.
Second, all those opposed? Thank you, motion carries. Under continued business, the discussion of private roads. We have here, you may want to explain, you and Phil had gone out and,
Yeah, essentially, what we're trying to do is develop a process for how the town can take private roads and accept them as public roads. I think we've all easily identified the idea that there are multiple private roads in the community, that for one reason or another, our private roads have become private roads over a period of time. And because of some of the funding issues that we have coming from the federal and state levels, and also the liability issues that the town would have for having town crews working in private property, those private roads have not been or are not being maintained as they probably need to be. Oftentimes these are situations where the roads do not meet the current road standards as have been set forth by the council, and they probably in many instances are not in a situation, the residents that live there are not in a situation where they can go out and maintain the roads themselves. Whether it's because there's an association that no longer exists, or there's just not a desire there, or there's not the financial capability or resources available. So what we did is we put together two processes for the town to possibly accept a road that doesn't meet the road standards that yet still exists in this town currently, for the council to go through to accept a road. One is a resident-initiated process where a group of residents would come to the town, most likely in writing, and ask for the town to take that road and make it a public road. Because the property lines for most of these towns actually go to the center line of the road, there would be a significant amount of deed work as well as surveys, and it would probably have to go to planning and zoning and public works. So that's kind of the one property owner initiated process. They're fairly similar processes, but just the initiation portion is a little different. The other one is the council initiated process. And this more or less goes down the road of eminent domain. And this would be in the instance where the council sees that there is a need for a certain private road to become a public road. There's not the desire by all of that road to make it a public road. Maybe there's, most of that road says they want it to be public and part of it says they don't. And it's, for whatever reason, a problem. This allows the council to step in and say, for the public good, that road needs to become a public road, and we would then have to go through the same processes, going through planning and zoning, on the deeding issue and everything else.
so from.
While it's not simple, it's as simple as it can get,
Yeah, so from 4 to 16, they're both the same,
pretty much.
both, yeah.
Yep.
So it's the first three lines that are different. And Mark, do you have an idea about which you think is better?
Well, that's why, when we talked about this way back, I didn't think it was a good idea to go with, because there is no cheap option.
No.
It's still, looking at this, it's still farther cheaper to drop some asphalt off and plow the roads and leave them as they are. To go through any of these steps, I can't see any of the residents doing that. The deed work, an A2 survey, you've got thousands and thousands of dollars to be spent with no guarantee that you're actually gonna have that road approved, because planning and zoning might look at it and say, no, the road's not up to standards, we don't want it. So now what do? You've spent all that money as a resident and not get your road approved anyways. For 50 to 100 years, we've been maintaining these roads, we've put sewer down most of these roads, we dug them up without easements and done all this stuff. I don't see the issues why you can't send the guys up with a truck, plow the road, drop some asphalt on, and you're done. That cost is far less than even trying to do one road.
Without a doubt.
A third option that doesn't exactly solve the problem of making a public road or a private road to a public road, but could get to where you're looking for Mark is to put together some type of waiver of liability and ask each of the residents to sign that. We'd still be risking the funding issue. We would have to have separate funds, strictly taxpayer funds from the town of East Hampton only. But I think we could possibly do it that way.
Yeah, I can't see any person on the road saying, I'm not gonna sign this.
I understand, yeah.
I think that'd be a better option, to send something out saying, look, you want your road plowed, you wanna maintain, sign off on this option saying that we're not liable if we dig up your driveway, if we throw snow on your lawn or your azaleas or whatever.
In some cases, the property line may exist into the pavement.
In most cases,
In
the
most
property
cases,
line
they do.
goes right across the pavement.
Right in the middle
So
of the road.
that would be some kind of, in that, whatever that document is, releasing, their right to, sue the town for damage to that, whatever. That's gotta be a complicated little document to cover all of.
It's gonna be tough, yeah.
It needs to be done, but it's a heck of a lot better than doing A2 surveys on all these streets.
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars to get that all done. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Could also these certain roads be excluded from our road plan, so there's no issue of funding?
You mean the local road project, or, well, you can't put them on, there's a list of local roads that goes to the state. So we can't get them on that list because they're not local roads.
Right.
So they're not on that list now.
Okay.
So that funding, if we were to use any of the funding that comes from, that's generated off of that list, we could potentially put that funding in jeopardy. And that's the big issue. A majority of the funding, or a good portion of the funding that we use to do work on roads comes through that route. So we're gonna have to look for other avenues of funding,
Segregate.
whether it's,
Another concern is a lot of these towns and some of these associations, they're restricted in some respect for parking and so forth. Would this make that open to the general public? Would they become, or could those restrictions stay in place in those?
if a private road became a public road, you mean?
If the town is just gonna we're just gonna do the maintenance, we're not,
Oh, if we're just,
Oh, no.
I think you could maybe keep that in place.
if we just do the maintenance, which I think is probably a good thing for the associations. Because they're not public roads at that point. We're just maintaining it.
The one thing I just have caution about in my gut is that I don't wanna be back at this table having the conversation of whether it's a public or private road again sometime down the road. For, no pun intended, but yeah.
First of all, I think it would be beneficial to identify the roads that are considered private right now, to literally identify them.
We have the
And then,
list
and
here.
then create a plan for maintenance and repair of those roads, and identify a budget for those roads, and account for it as a separate road project line item in, say, the capital. And just that way, you can point to the powers that be at the state and the federal level, that you have your own plan, that you are funding yourself out of this pool of resources that you've set aside for that purpose. Would that be a remedy for your concern about, possibly jeopardizing
Oh, that's what we'd have to do,
road
definitely.
funding?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
As long as
so,
you're
so that's a doable
segregated.
thing, that's a doable thing, so,
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't see why-
I think really what would happen is next year in capital, we would put a private road fund
right,
together. That's really what would end up happening.
right. And then, just like the public roads can identify which ones are in need, more immediate need of repair, and what funds are available to do that, and plan it accordingly.
Just like we do now.
Like we do,
Yeah,
right, right, but just segregated in such a way that we don't jeopardize the funding. Kevin?
I think option 3 sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Warms the cockles of my heart. And, we'll just put together a separate budget, and the budget goes up or down based on whatever's, and then we move forward as we're maintaining our regular roads now, but it's just for these.
It's a struggle no matter
private
what,
roads.
all these roads, whether they're town owned or.
Okay, that's that.
Now, the police cruiser parking, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Do we,
That's a resolution or
do we have to vote on something? And if so, does this come at a second
If you wanna-
reading, or?
Do you wanna, I don't know. that
Well, if
we
you
have
wanna
to
make a
vote on-
motion to direct me to get a waiver of liability put together by the
We could do
town
that.
attorney. Because I mean, unless we're gonna make some type of additional appropriation, at this point in the year, there's not any funding to
No.
do anything right
No.
now, so. But if you want me to get the waiver of liability and start working on getting that taken
Mhm.
care of, we could at least do that part and be ready for next year.
I do think that perhaps some kind of take a look at those roads and do an estimate of what those repairs might be. I do think that,
preparation for
I
the
do
budget.
think that we
Mhm.
need to prepare that for
Yeah. Oh,
the
yeah.
budget.
Oh, yeah, well, we
And
would
so-
request something in the budget, so we would need to do that.
This list that we have is all, they're all the roads,
Mhm.
so,
I believe in the report we gave you last time, there were, the private roads were separated out.
yeah, okay.
Do we need to resolve how we're going to address this going on? Or just going to talk about it and let it go?
No,
I
we're not
mean-
gonna do that, no, we're not gonna. we
Well, I think
wanna-
if you
I
made,
think-
if you made a motion to direct me to
I
get the
think we
waiver
should
of
do that.
liability from
Let's
the
do that,
town
and
attorney.
that way we'll have it in the plan and we can move forward with it better.
Okay, so I'll
Someone
move
make that
to have
motion.
the town manager, enter into look into a waiver of liability document.
Sounds good.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and second to ask our town manager to have a waiver of liability drawn for the private roads. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Not now. We do have public remarks at the end. Police cruiser parking. Now, we have before us 3 options. And what we just got at the table, we received the pictures of each of them. I think you're probably familiar with each area, but this will refresh your memory where they are. In our packet, we had the one at 205 East High Street and the one at 100 Main Street. And now the third one would be the one at 80 East High Street. And that's spelled out in this letter from T&O Enterprises. I did speak with him because I had a couple of questions, and basically it's the same as the one at 205 East High Street. The only difference is it wouldn't be ready, the one at 205 is ready at the moment to be used. The one here at 80 East High Street would be, he said the vehicles could be moved in rather soon, and if within a couple of weeks, the building would not be ready. But then before we hung up, he said, well, he would try to get the building ready, so I don't know how soon the building would be ready, but the parking would be ready before September 1st. And the option at 100 Main Street, we've spoken about before, and so you have the field card for those, all 3 properties. And
Well, the 100, problem when you get an attorney involved, what was the bottom line of that 100 Main Street? Because I couldn't figure out the number after they kept going back and forth.
well, it's this last,
We got a
it's
new letter.
this in your packet.
In your,
is-
yeah,
It
if you-
obviously deviated from what we originally talked about.